Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So let me tell you about the crazy neighbor we had to deal with when my boyfriend and I moved into our apartment last August. It all started when we moved into this older apartment complex with creaky floors. According to our lease, we had to cover 90% of any room with carpet, except for the bathroom and kitchen to help with noise. We did our best to comply, but it turned out that our apartment used to be a college dorm and it already had a super thin, crappy layer of carpet. To be extra considerate, we even added more rugs to dampen the noise. About a month after we moved in, a new neighbor moved into the apartment below ours. She seemed nice at first, but it didn't take long for things to take a weird turn. One night, we were up late in the living room just past midnight and she started banging on her ceiling, which was, well, basically our floor. It startled us and we quickly realized she wanted us to be quieter at night. Fair enough, we thought. The next time was when we got back from the airport around 10 p.m. She came up to our door, banged on us, and didn't even let me explain. She claimed she knew it was us making the noise, not the cat or anything else, and she didn't live alone. We were puzzled but didn't think much of it. We tried to adjust our habits, going to bed earlier and being more mindful of noise. But no matter what we did, the banging continued. It seemed like she would hit her ceiling every time we moved around. Bed at 10, bang. Wake up at 5:30 for work, bang. Just sitting on a couch but wanted to grab some snacks, bang. Around Christmas, she knocked on our door again, and this time my boyfriend answered it, and I recorded the whole conversation. She accused us of following her around the apartment. My boyfriend was baffled and told her that she sounded crazy and that we had no interest in her whatsoever. She continued to insist that we were stalking her and that she wasn't alone in her apartment. We were getting fed up with her antics, so we started stomping back whenever she banged on our floor. It became a sort of game for us. We had already explained the situation to our landlord and the super, and they were on our side. Then a COVID-19 pandemic hit, and our town was the first in the US to go into lockdown. Those early days of quarantine were tough for everyone, and it seemed like our neighbor lost her mind. We're early risers on the weekends, and one Sunday we woke up early and decided to have a lazy morning. We sat on the couch and had some coffee and didn't make much noise until around 11 a.m. And that's when she went ballistic. It sounded like she was running back and forth in her apartment, banging on her ceiling so hard that we thought she might damage it. I even heard what seemed like muffled yelling. We had plans for the day, so we ignored her and started to leave. But it seems like she was waiting for us because she stepped out of her apartment just as we reached the landing. I was holding our dog, waiting for my boyfriend to come down, and she blocked our way. "Tell your boyfriend to cut it out." Cut what out? Walking? You're hitting the ceiling because of me and the dog moving, not him. And the crazy neighbor continues to spew nonsense. My boyfriend finally made it down the stairs and she kept yelling at him. He stayed remarkably calm, calling her a crazy lady and ignoring her as we walked past her and her car to the dumpster. As I passed her car, she turned her attention to me, and I was too angry to engage. "I am serious. It's done." "Okay, what do you want us to do? Crawl? I already told you we have a 60-pound dog, and we're just walking around." But she continues to talk over me. "And you need to remember that I don't live alone." "Okay, neither do I. You see my boyfriend right there. So what's your point? By the way, that's the third or fourth time you've said that, and that could be taken as a threat." "You think it's a threat? Fine. It is. Cool. I am calling the cops." "Okay, me too." We both called the police and they arrived shortly. They talked to her first and then came to speak with us. I don't know what she told them, but I told the officers everything she had done and said over the past 6 months. The officers explained that it was a civil matter that needed to be resolved with the landlord, but assured us that walking around our apartments at 11 a.m. on a Sunday was perfectly acceptable. They also told her not to knock on our door or bang on our floor again. For a few nights, she retaliated by banging on our floor at 1:30 a.m. to wake us up. We contacted our landlord again and he promised to look into the situation. But that wasn't the end of her problems with him. We also spoke with the people who lived below her and told them about the banging. They had been hearing it the whole time and had no idea what was causing it. Now that they knew, they also reported her to the landlord. Finally, the banging stopped. We didn't expect her lease to be renewed. We might even end up in a better apartment in the next couple of months. It was a wild ride dealing with our entitled neighbor, but at least it seems like we've come out on top in the end. Edit. A few comments have tried to paint my neighbor as innocent in this. I want to clarify that she made direct threats to me when I apologized and told her we'd take care of it. That was the first time she met me and all I did was apologize and say we'd fix it. She was never trying to be friendly and work it out. We have never engaged her. We have never provoked her. This happened 10 years ago. My wife and I had a destination wedding. We had a large group fly with us, so the airline gave us a free upgrade to first class. We were given seats A and B of row 4, window and aisle for those not familiar with airline seating. C and D were in the middle of the plane with no windows, and E and F were aisle and window on the other side of the plane. When we boarded, there were a couple in our seats. We asked them to move so we could get our seats. Surprisingly, they outright refused. I didn't want to fight with them, nor was it my job. I grabbed the flight attendant and explained the situation. She came over and confirmed that they were in row 1, seats C and D. She asked them to move and they refused. She told them that they didn't have a choice. They became very rude about it and still refused. Before it escalated any further, I offered to swap seats with them now that we know where they were sitting. I had no problem with their seats either. These are free upgrades after all. The flight attendant and a couple agreed that we were officially swapping seats. Everyone was happy and the flight attendant made sure that we got a glass of champagne first. About 5 minutes after all of this went down, another couple gets on a plane and I guess unsurprisingly it turns out the airline double-booked the seats we were originally assigned. The couple we swapped with were also part of a group package free upgrade, so the couple coming on took priority since they actually paid for their first-class seats. After some more arguing, the couple we swapped with agreed to give up those seats. I was kind of shocked since first class was full at this point. Then, what shouldn't have been a surprise, the couple began moving their bags above our new seats in row 1. The flight attendant stopped them and pointed out that they had officially swapped seats with us. She told him there were seats available in coach. They began yelling and screaming and being all around nasty people. Eventually, the flight attendant got the captain who came out and told them their choice was to go to coach or get another flight. They reluctantly went to coach. The woman was bawling loudly the whole way. It seemed like everything was good for a couple of hours, and about 2 or 3 hours into the flight, an old guy comes into first class. I was asleep at this point and was woken up by him grabbing me and trying to haul me out of my seat. I'm a big guy and this was a guy much smaller and a lot drunk than me, so it didn't take much to reject his attempts. Turns out he was the father of the woman who we swapped seats with. I got up just to make sure I was able to protect myself and this stupid old man threw a punch. It was weak and barely grazed my arm, but that's not something you should do on a flight especially. A guy who assumed was the airline marshal grabbed him and dragged him out of first class. Things calmed down again for about 30 minutes before the woman came rushing into first class. She starts yelling and trying to find the flight attendant. The same guy walked, dragged her to the coach and returned. A few hours later, without any more incidents, the plane landed at our destination. We were asked to remain seated when the plane was parked. A small team of cops boarded the plane and removed the daughter and the father in handcuffs. Funny thing was that we were staying at the same hotel as them and one of their guests told one of our guests yet they were in jail for at least a couple of days. Back in 2013, I found myself in the middle of an unexpected and infuriating encounter that would later become the stuff of legend in my life. You see, in my country, the Nursing Council organized an annual 3-day convention. It was a gathering that had two primary draws: the opportunity to present your nursing research and a chance for a little vacation since they moved it to a different city every year, usually around the middle of May. I was about to learn that even in a setting meant for professional growth and relaxation, there are always a few entitled individuals lurking in the shadows. For the past couple of years, my fellow nurses and I had joined forces to research and write a paper on training and educating patients. And guess who had the honor of presenting it? Yours truly. So I applied, and they graciously gave us a slot early on the first day of the convention. It was set in a swanky touristy city, and while I was attending the event, I decided to stay in a more budget-friendly hotel, a decision that would play a significant role in the story. The day of my presentation arrived. I dressed in my dark blue business suit and tie, clutching my trusty laptop, and the presentation went off without a hitch. And afterward, I bumped into a classmate from nursing school. We decided to grab a coffee to catch up, and since she wanted to attend another presentation later, we opted to stay put and enjoy the cafe patio of the fancy hotel hosting the convention. As we sat there chatting, sipping our coffee, and soaking in the sun, the patio started to fill up with mostly student nurses and convention attendees. The cafe staff was working tirelessly to serve everyone. Then out of nowhere, I felt an ominous presence looming over me, and a high-pitched voice pierced through my conversation. I turned to see a woman who looked like she had just stepped out of a Karen prototype catalog. The haircut, the expensive clothes that somehow managed to look cheap, and that unmistakable entitled attitude. "Excuse me?" I looked at her confused. "Yes?" Karen was a growing hint of annoyance. "My friends and I have been waiting for someone to take our order for 5 minutes." She pointed towards a nearby table where a couple of women, undoubtedly in the same entitled subcategory as Karen, were sitting. I raised an eyebrow, still perplexed. Karen, losing her patience, "So, get off your break and come take our order." My patience had its limits. "Out of work here." And that's when Karen leaned in, her face inches from mine, and declared, "Listen up, you peon. We are paying customers, and you're going to do as you're told. Break is over." She then swiped her arm across the table, knocking over coffee cups and glasses of water. Most of it ended up on my laptop, which sat next to our table. At that moment, I was beyond furious. I rose from my seat, and there was a noticeable height difference between us. I'm 6 foot 4 inches while she was maybe 5'6", on 3-inch heels. I tell her, "Listen here, you little witch. I don't work here, and even if I did, I wouldn't serve people with your attitude. And if something happened to my laptop, you're paying for it." Karen, seething with anger, "You dare to threaten me? Me? Do you know who I am?" I responded without hesitation. "No, and I don't care. You're just an entitled witch." Our altercation had drawn the attention of many onlookers, and a server had finally made their way over. The servers at this cafe were dressed in black pants, white shirts, and black aprons, clearly distinct from my business suit. The server, trying to make sense of the situation, "What is happening here?" Karen, pointing at me, "Your colleague is refusing to take our order and is threatening me." The server glanced at me and quickly deduced the situation, saying, "Ma'am, this man doesn't work here. He's a customer." But Karen's mind couldn't seem to grasp this simple fact. She continued to rant until a manager and security personnel arrived. When the manager asked what had transpired, I wasted no time explaining. This woman insulted me, deliberately spilled coffee on me and my personal belongings, and even tried to attack me. I would like to press charges. The mere mention of involving the police sent Karen into another tirade. She claimed it was discrimination against foreign tourists, threatened to sue me and the hotel, and insisted that we should respect our supposed betters. Classic entitled behavior. The aftermath was both satisfying and bittersweet. I did indeed press charges leading to Karen's expulsion from the hotel, though I'm not sure what happened to her group. Unfortunately, my laptop was ruined. The coffee had poured directly onto it due to a slightly open zipper in my bag. On the plus side, the hotel offered me a full paid weekend reservation at a time of my choosing as compensation. And about a year later, I received a hefty settlement for the incident, around 3,500 euros. Hey everyone, I've got a story to share, and I need your honest opinions. Am I the jerk in the situation? So here's what's been happening in my life lately. I'm a 17-year-old freshman in college, and my sister Leah, who is 18, is also a freshman. Our parents weren't rich, but they always made it a point to set aside some money for our college education. It was a big deal for them, and they wanted to give us the best shot at a good future. Now let me introduce you to Leah. She's a soccer enthusiast and has been playing since she was a little kid. When she was about to start her freshman year of high school, our parents had a serious conversation with her. They told her that if she continued to play soccer, she had to be extra careful because if she got injured, she would use the money from her college fund to pay for her medical expenses. You see, some of the schools in our league were known for playing pretty rough. And Leah wasn't exactly the tallest or strongest player out there, so they wanted her to understand the risks involved. Fast forward to our sophomore year, and Leah had a pretty bad injury. It wasn't even due to contact with another player, it was a non-contact injury. She ended up needing surgery and several months of physical therapy. The medical bills added up to several $1,000s, and all of it came out of what would have been her college fund. Now, we're both attending similarly priced colleges, but here's the kicker. Leah will need to take out more loans than I will to cover her education expenses, and that's where the drama starts. So we're in this group chat with a bunch of our friends, and I made a light-hearted comment about how expensive college is. Leah responded with a jab saying, "Now imagine paying thousands more because your parents do not want to pay for your medical bills." I was taken aback by her comment, and I privately messaged her, telling her that I didn't think it was right to share such personal stuff in a group chat. I reminded her that she knew the risks of playing soccer, and she chose to continue playing anyway. And that's when she dropped the bombshell on me. Leah argued that she had every right to share something that really upset her, and that I should have her back in this fight against our parents. She believed that they should have paid for her medical bills, just like they did for me when I needed it. She even called me a crappy sister and asked me to tell our parents that they should have covered her medical expenses. I have been grappling with this situation, and I'm not sure where I stand. So, dear Reddit community, I need your help to decide, am I the jerk here? And now some comments on a post. Someone saying, "You are the jerk, regardless of who is right about the medical bills, and I agree with your sister for the record, you have no right to tell her not to talk about it. Also, if you think it's right that your parents did not pay her medical bills, there is no reason to be ashamed of her sharing it. If she shouldn't tell people, you know it's wrong." Another commenter adds, "You are the jerk. Of course you are. And your parents too. It is terrible parenting to pull a stunt like this. Not reasonable because your sister knew the risks of playing soccer? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Parents are responsible for ensuring that their children have medical treatment. There are very few things parents need to do for their children, and a sophomore in high school is a child, but ensuring they have medical treatment is one of them. Your parents did not hit that bar. Having kids has risks. You could have cancer. And then what? Boo-hoo? You know the risks of being a person. And some people get cancer. You are victim blaming in a horrid way. This should have zero to do with college funds. But somehow your parents made it about college funds. So that's them being the jerks. Yeah, your sister has a right to complain to all y'all friends because it's crabby they did that to her. For your information, being in activities, especially bigger activities like sports, is good for college apps. good for your health versus sitting on your butt and watching TikToks or whatever. Yeah, there are risks, but there are also rewards to those activities. And that's what most not completely naughty people see when their kids sign up for sports. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.